the channel. My name is Brad and this is Supercoach Pro. Today's video we will be looking at vice captain options, what to do with Grundy, what to do with Zorko. Do you trade out both? Do you trade out one? How do we get around this situation? Well, I'm going to first of all start with it all depends on how many players you have on your round 14 bye. Now to see that you obviously go up here. Now we're going to get rid of my face permanently. So we go round 14 bye. This will give you a fair idea how many players you have playing on the round 14 bye. So without any trades, I have 4 in the back line, 4 in the midfield because Brockman probably won't get named, so that's 8, 9 Reeves, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I'm still 5 short of a full side for round 18, so that gives me a fair idea. This week I'm fine, as you can see there. So there is a few different alternatives I've been playing with. Look, in the time of recording is only about 2 hours until the teams get out. My trades this week, there's only one set in stone. As you can see there, I've brought out Dawkins for Ned Reeves via DPP. Now, if you don't know how that works, just quickly, he was in the midfield. I put Poulter up forward, or McRae or somebody, I think it was Poulter. Then I put Coleman Jones forward and chucked in Reeves there. So that's how you do it. Obviously, the S will give you an idea where that player can move. Obviously, I didn't want to put him on the bench because I want him to fill Grundy. So the first option you got to really consider is, can you hold Grundy? So in my position, I don't want to because of my ranking. We'll lose a little bit of ranking points this week and maybe next. But for the long term, I want to hold Grundy because a lot of people that do trade him out, how are you going to bring him back in? You're going to have to hold 400k in cash just to go from a sideways from a Reeves back up to Grundy. So I'll use Reeves as my buy cover. I suggest that you probably do that too, unless you're in the top 10, then don't. You'd have to trade him out from a primo. Use Reeves for this week. Next week, you got him covered. He was never going to play next week in his buy. Hopefully, he comes back around 15. If he doesn't, and if you don't think he does, then trade him. That's obviously gut instinct. If you don't think he comes back after his buy, which is expected to, I recommend you trade him. So flip a coin on that, whatever you read it into, but I'm holding him. However, Zorko is the guy I will chop. Obviously, this is very team dependent. So I sort of have no option but to do that because if Zorko hadn't have been an idiot and got himself suspended, I might have been able to get around this. So these 2 extra trades that people were complaining about this week, and they still are, they do come in handy because, look, I tried to buy plan. That's why I did have a few Richmond players for that round 13, technically, this week, that were meant to be out. So I did try my best to plan it. Those 2 extra trades help. So what you do is, without wasting too much more time, you go Zorko. Let's say you get rid of Jordan because he's got the round 14 bye. He's got the round 14 bye as well. You've got now $1,500 to play with. Sorry, $1.5 million to play with. You bring him some absolute primos. Now, whether they're coming off the bye, whether they've just had their bye this week, do with it what you want. Hypothetically. Now, I say hypothetically because in my last video, someone was like, would you rather pick, seriously, Hardwick over Whitfield? No, I wouldn't. It was just a durability factor and the fact that Hardwick had actually been scoring okay and he was more of a pod than Whitfield. Anyway, so this is what you would do. Took is a bit expensive. Does he get affected by the likes of Rao playing this week? So do keep an eye out and don't buy Rao this week. Just wait a week or two once his price goes. Then have a look at him and then assess from there. If you want him as a primo at that sort of 440 range, which he will be in about a fortnight's time. So there's no real players at this price, so you probably have to cut someone like a Miller down to maybe a players such as Duncan or somebody like that. But just for hypotheticals, let's go Dan Houston. And as again, like I said, these are just examples. They're not actually players I would or wouldn't bring in. They're just example players. So the reason why you would bring him in, obviously Houston had that shoulder problem. He scores really well. If you take away his injury-affected games, he's actually scored really well in most of them. So he's at a discounted price. You could do something like this. So in return, you get rid of 1 primo, 2 rookies, and you gain 3 primos, and you still got a bit of bank, depending how much bank you had at the start, of course. So if I just hypothetically did that, I used all 4 trades this week. How does it look? I've got 7 trades left. Computer's a little bit slow right now, but I'd only have 1 forward upgrade to do. I think that's how it would work. So yeah, obviously this is 5 primos forward, 2 rucks still, obviously with the Reeves cover. You have Merritt, Walsh in here, so your midfield's complete now that you brought in Tuk, and your backline's complete with Houston. Now, obviously, team dependent. You could grab 3 $500,000 players like Whitfield, Hawkins, whoever you really wanted to. Ollie Wines, if you had enough coin as well. So I guess that's my second point. If you chop off the 1 primo, you could grab 3 primos, complete your side, and only have 1 forward upgrade, leaving you with a grand total of 6 trades for injuries only. No sideways crap, just injuries. So yeah, that puts me in a good position. I mean, if I wanted to field 2 extra players, all I would do is downgrade, say, Poulter to Jai Newcomb. There's a few guys I've just read on a few pages that are making their debut, could go down, make 200k, do my last upgrade, say Waitman to a forward primo that's coming off their bye. Then that would leave me with 5 trades, a full primo, a rookie in here, my midfield complete, and my defence complete, and my ruck complete. So that is the Zorko option you can do. Obviously, it just depends how fully equipped your side is, and you've probably got a lot more trades than me. So this is the other point I want to make real quick. I just want to go for relevant players. So use your filter. Obviously, if you sort of remember who had the bye, Geelong Giants and Gold Coast did, North, Port Adelaide, and Hawthorn. So if you want to just be a little bit more specific, let's go here because there are a couple random players that you're probably thinking, why are you talking about, but it will make sense shortly. So I'll get through this as quick as possible because the teams will be announced shortly and I'm trying to get this out quick as I can. So Took Miller, look, I'm sure you've already clicked on his profile to see what his scores are, but just to run you through them, those small 80s and 78s are based off his tagging role. Now, my only question with Took is, does Matty Rao affect his game and does he go back to the tagging role because now they're up an extra midfielder? So do consider that. Maybe have 1 more week to look at it because he could go back to a tagging role now that Rao is back. Apart from that, if he doesn't and scores over 115, he's probably pretty safe. Just remember too, you're running Took Miller versus a Bontempelli, a Parrish, an Oliver, or McRae if you don't already have those 4 sort of premium midfielders. So Super Pod, 1.5% of size, so that's also an advantage and disadvantage to you. Obviously, if you're running him, you're hoping that he scores really well, or else the 99% of competition are absolutely going to kill you each week. Cunnington, I don't think I want to brush over too much, but if you are considering him, just know he is very much like the Tom Mitchell pick. He has his lows, has his highs, can go 140. Ollie Wines is probably the best of the bunch, to be honest. He does have a bad 70 there, but you take away the 70, he's still got low floor, 91, 98, 84, and an 80 up there, but can go big, 143, 134, 100, 139. So his last 3 weeks have been really solid. Got not a bad fixture coming up to Port Adelaide players, so do consider. Josh Kelly, I do and don't recommend him at the same time. I recommend him if you had bought him about a month ago because he's at a really good price at 508k. That was an absolute steal if you bought him. Problem is now that they've got Matt DeBoer coming back, Perryman's in a couple of weeks as well, is he might be pushed back forward. So this is sort of a, what do you call it? I can't remember the statement I'm trying to think of, but he comes with risk, obviously injury risk as well. So be aware of that also. Can score well, still only averaging 103. So if it was me and I didn't have Kelly, I'd be trying to go for somebody like a Bontempelli or whoever you could coming off next week's bye. Cullen Ward's an interesting one. Absolute pod, as you can see there, 1.7% of size. He's always going to play midfield. In the last 3 weeks, he's turned it around, scored really well. I mean, if you look at that 3-week average, he has of 118. So he's one you could consider. I do apologise. Some of these are really left field picks. So another one to consider, 3-round average, is Jacob Hopper. Also has a good fixture with Tim Kelly. Not Tim Kelly, Josh Kelly and Ward. He's 137, 108, 100. Real left field pick. I love these pods, to be honest. Hall, if you don't already have him, here's one you consider. Obviously, same as Josh Kelly, injury prone but scores well. So, something you can consider. Obviously, there is a North defender back this week, and McDonald comes back shortly. So, does that affect his kickouts? Maybe wait a week to see if Tarrant does affect the kickout situation, and just know there's a few players coming back in that North Melbourne back line. But a solid pick. Zeeble, if I hadn't already gone over him, he's a very good pick also. But I think most of the competition has him. Duncan's probably a good pick. Just the concussion game there. Does he have a Ridley effect where he goes bad numbers from here because the concussion actually has a bit of an effect on his game? Does his role change now that Dangerfield is back in the side? Where does he sort of play? Good average of 113, so he's one you could consider. Has a fairly high break-even, still a good pod. Bring him in if you must. Boki, is he over that groin injury he received, I think, in about round 7 or something like that? At a fairly decent price after the groin problem, 83, 123, 96, 97, nothing to jump at. Still has an average of 109, which is pretty decent for a guy that's only worth 533. Absolute steal if you ask me. Still got a break-in of 125. Could still go down another 6k if projected is correct. Tommy Stewart, if you don't already grab him, grab him. He's a great pick. Not too much more to say to him. He's got that 84, sort of about that 120 range, which he does week in and week out. Still not a lot of tons on the board, but for a defender, you'll take that. Selwood's a bit of a pod as well. He's only got a couple bad games like most midfielders do this time of year, to be honest. Does he get rested in the back end of the season? That's something you could really consider. I just want to brush over a few more blokes before we end the video too. Tom Mitchell. Yeah, he probably averaged about sort of that 120 here on out, sort of going that 140, then getting you an 80, which will average him out. So not a bad pick. I don't hate it. If you think the week off will really benefit him and you like his fixture coming up, you could possibly go for him. I don't really hate the pick, but he's not a pod. He's in 20% of size, so you're almost better off going against the grain. Cunnington's a bit of a pod for sure, 3% of size. His last 3 weeks, 134, 142, 113. He's an absolute beast. He looks like he's 42, but he's only like about 30 or something like that, or 29. So, yeah, don't mind the pick. He's going to be pretty consistent. He'll throw a stinker every now and then, but look, he's got a 3-round average of 130 just about. So yeah, not a bad pick there. Hopper, if he had a bigger ceiling, you'd probably consider. He's an absolute pod though, goes 110 most week. Has a few bad games like most midfielders this time of year. Taranto, you probably wouldn't look at because you would have started him or not. Butters hopefully comes back soon. Hardwick's another good pick in defence. As to the comments last week, I would pick Whitfield over Hardwick, but Hardwick has better durability and his roles are more certain than Whitfield. He won't get flicked around everywhere. So he's a really solid pick. Look, he's only gone under 75 twice. And about a week ago, before his bye, he was in that top 8 defender, if I am not wrong. I'm pretty sure he was. So, yeah, he's a solid pick. I like the Hardwick pick, 1.6% of sides. Good pick up. Bowes is sort of going to be affected by Orkoshius' role. Great price, though. I won't bring him in because I already traded him out when he got injured with that hammy. So, it does have a bit of soft tissue injury history. 140 break even. You could probably have another look at him. He's not going to get 140, no way. But super consistent. Even before his injury, he was averaging 103. So, yeah, have a look at that pick. Set doesn't come back, so do not look at him. Hawkins is an interesting one. He'll either give you a 55 or 120. So, yeah, he is a bit of a pod. He's got Brisbane, Port Adelaide, and Doggies coming up. So, yeah, you could consider him. Where does he finish in the forward line? Yeah, he's definitely a pod, though, so he's someone you could consider. Depending on how much money you got, he's not as cheap as a Kyle Langford or as a Toby Green or something, so you are paying full price for him, so do consider that, but still a guy worth looking at. I'll have to crunch the numbers and look what forward premium I want this week. Toby Green, as I haven't spoken yet, but 463 coming off a bit of a shoulder problem. 118, he could definitely get that score against North. So he's probably at a good price, got a good fixture coming up. Does have a tendency to do a Zorko and get suspended, and the week you bring him in is probably the week he gets suspended or does an ankle. Similar to Heaney, so that's the last minute decision. Sort of why I didn't go Heaney was I was already running Hall and Josh Kelly. So I'm going to be making a few last minute trades at 6:25 till 7:40 bounce. So I do apologise. I'm not naming who I'm bringing in because it'll obviously be team dependent on the sides coming out tonight. Houston's one you could look at. Is coming off a bit of a shoulder problem. Played well though when he's not injured. We know what he can do. Does he play in the centre? Does he play in the back line? Really consistent. You take away his injury-affected games and they're really solid numbers. Great price. Still a high break even. So one to consider. Maybe give it a week. Good price though. Really don't mind it. People running May. So if you're running Houston against May, I don't mind that matchup head-to-head. Just seeing if there's any others. Power Pepper's an interesting one. I think he's got the role at the moment. In the lineup, he was named as the following, meaning the midfielder. So if he scores another 100, he might be really tempting, might be juicy. So just one to keep an eye out tonight. Watch where he plays tonight because that could be really interesting. Charlie Dixon, very much like a Tom Hawkins pick. Super pod. Gives you the 50s, can go 100s. Look at his last month. It all says it there. Really good, solid month there. Better value than Hawkins for sure. Very similar players that ruck forward role too, where he can give a bit of a pinch hit out when it's the ball's coming in from the boundary. So do consider him. I like that. 109 average, good price, absolute pod, 2% size. If you want to risk it for the biscuit, go for it. God, I actually love pod discussions. So Tui, now, 108 average, getting too excited here. Taking the kickouts. If he scores another ton, you look at it. 100, 110, 90, 126. Absolute left field, smoky, 454. Midfielder, do you do it, do you not? It's really how much you want to sort of risk it. 1.4% size, absolute pod again. Pods really get me excited if you can't already tell. Dangerfield, wait a week. He will come down some price. His break-even is still fairly high in the next 2 weeks. Just watch where he plays too this week with Cameron and Hawkins in the forward line. Now, getting to the end of this, there's no one I think I really want to talk about. So I'll go straight into my vice-captain and captain options, I reckon, from here. And obviously, I will do some footy tipping on who I think will win this week. Sorry, I'm a bit tongue-tied today. I've had a big day. So my only trade so far was Dawkins to Reeves via DPP. Now, I'll do tips and then I'll do vice-captain. So I'm going to tip Port Adelaide, Sydney, Gold Coast, St Kilda, Giants, West Coast, and Melbourne. Only upset I can see here is obviously this could go either way and this could go either way. And it wouldn't surprise me if Collingwood got up one last time for Bucks. So more than unlikely, but still, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I will answer them best as I can, but I do warn you at 6:15 to about 7:30, I'll be adjusting my side, so I won't be seeing any YouTube comments for at least an hour while the teams are announced. I'll update you on my trades on the Sunday night review or Monday review. Actually, it will be Tuesday because there's a Monday game, as you can see here, so it might be a Monday night review or a Tuesday video. Now, vice-captain, captain, just quickly, I know I've rambled on some time now. I could actually leave that. Allowed against St Kilda, not a bad option, and Ollie against Collingwood, or maybe you could go Steele as captain, even Mills as vice-captain. Well, to be honest, I'm going to have to do a bit of research here, but for now, I think if the ball was bounced now and you said, Brad, who do you have to pick? I'd probably go vice-captain Steele into Josh Kelly. A little bit worried about Josh Kelly's role, though, this week now that the ball's back in the side, because that will make his centre bounces decrease. Anyway, that is all I have for today. Sorry if the video was a bit long. Catch you on the next one. Please press the like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Have a good weekend. Go Tigers!